What if I told you that the most powerful response to betrayal isn't rage, revenge, or even closure? It's silence. Not just any silence, but the kind that says everything without saying a word. When she walked away, when her words cut like glass, you wanted to scream, to ask why, to fix what broke. But the real strength, it's in saying nothing. Because silence isn't surrender, it's control. It's a mirror that reflects everything back to her, the guilt, the loss, the consequences. When a man chooses not to react, when he sits with pain without performing it, he taps into something deeper than anger. He finds power. This isn't about pretending you don't feel anything. It's about owning what you feel without letting it own you. You're not avoiding emotion. You're mastering it. You're not chasing answers. You're becoming one. And when she realizes you didn't fall apart, when you don't come crawling back like she expected, that's when regret begins. Because silence is loud in the mind of someone who thought they still held power. It's uncomfortable. It's confusing. It makes her wonder what you're thinking, who you're with, how you're so calm in the chaos she caused. That's the shift. That's where you win. If you're tired of being the one who always explains, always reaches out, always bleeds for someone else's comfort, then it's time to go quiet. And trust me, silence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Silence is not weakness. It's a weapon. You've been told that silence means you've lost, that if you don't argue, don't explain, don't chase, then you're giving up. But that's the lie. The truth is, silence is the most calculated move you can make. It messes with expectations. When she walked away, she expected noise, texts, calls, pleading. She expected chaos. Because when people hurt you, they want to feel significant. They want to believe they mattered enough to break you. But when you go quiet, when you disappear from the narrative, they're left with nothing but questions. That silence becomes a storm. It's psychological disruption. No reaction, no closure, no comfort. Just a man who refused to play the role she wrote for him. And now she has to sit with what she did, alone. You're not there to ease her guilt. You're not performing heartbreak for her validation. And in that silence, she loses control of the story. That's the power. Every day you don't reach out, the mystery grows. Is he hurting? Has he moved on? Did he even care? That uncertainty is more powerful than any message you could send, because now she's not dealing with a broken man, she's facing a man who's sharp, focused, unreadable, and unreadable is unbeatable. You don't owe her closure, you owe yourself peace. And that's what silence protects. Let her wonder. Let her feel the weight of losing someone who never had to shout to be heard, because when you say nothing, it says everything. She didn't expect silence. She thought you'd fall apart. She thought she'd still have emotional gravity in your life. But when you didn't chase, when you didn't beg, when you didn't collapse, you shattered that illusion. And that silence, it's not just a lack of noise, it's presence, it's control, it's evolution. Most people react, few choose to transform. But when you do, when you rise without announcing it, when you heal without asking for permission, you become something rare, something powerful, and that's what she lost. So don't speak, don't explain, just grow. Let the silence say it all. You vanished without a single word, and that's psychological warfare. She expected a reaction. She wanted confirmation that she mattered, but instead she got silence. And that silence said one thing loud and clear: you don't control me. You didn't give her pain. You didn't give her fear. You gave her indifference. And that's when the panic sets in. Because now she's asking herself the question she never prepared for. Did I overplay my hand? When you don't beg, she starts begging in her own mind. She checks your profile. She replays the last conversation. She wonders if you've already replaced her. She imagines you with someone else. She can't stop thinking about what you're thinking because she's completely out of the loop. That chaos in her mind, that's the price of walking away from a man who knows his value. You didn't lose her. She lost access to you. And the moment you refused to chase, you made something clear. You were never dependent. You were never beneath her. She wasn't your oxygen. She was just a chapter, not the entire book. Now the silence is louder than anything you could have said. It screams that you're not broken, you're building, you're not mourning, you're moving. And the only one with something to regret is her. You flipped the script without lifting a finger, and that's what sets you apart. Your face, your expression. That's the next battlefield. Every emotion you let show is data. Fear, sadness, anger, desperation. Each one is a tell. And once she sees it, she owns the frame. That's why emotional control isn't just self-mastery, it's dominance. In Stoicism, your face is the gate. In dark psychology, it's the mask. When you master your face, you control the narrative. You might be shattered inside. You might be replaying every word she said, trying to piece it all together. But the second you let it show, the second your eyes betray the storm you're hiding, she knows she still holds power. And that's the one thing you can never give to someone who left you. So you hold the line. You train your expression. Still, calm, unreadable. You don't flinch. And the second you don't, she starts asking questions. Why isn't he hurt? How is he so composed? Did I ever even matter? That mystery, that absence of reaction, it breaks her from the inside. Not texting her back, that's expected, but appearing in person or even on social media, looking stronger, sharper, more focused. That's the kill shot. Because now she knows you're not pretending, you're adapting, you're evolving. The world reads your face before it hears your words. Your ex, your friends, your enemies, they're all watching, looking for signs of collapse. But when your eyes are steady, your energy grounded, your silence uninterrupted, you send a message without saying a thing. You don't have access to me anymore. And that message hits different when it's not shouted, but silently shown. You can feel everything and still show nothing. That's not bottling up your emotions. That's filtering what deserves to be seen. Because the moment you show her your pain, she gets the ego boost she left you for. But when she sees you thriving, stone-faced, locked in on your goals, that's when the regret isn't just possible, it's guaranteed. Your face tells the world who owns your mind. Make sure the answer is you. And here's something most men learn too late. Absence hits harder than anger. You think that blowing up her phone, sending emotional texts, yelling, crying, will make her realize what she lost. It won't. It just shows she still controls you. It proves she still lives rent-free in your head. And as long as you react, you remain tied. But silence? Disappearing without games, without drama, that's power, that's peace. Because anger gives her closure. It confirms she mattered. It proves you're still emotionally hooked. But when you vanish completely, respectfully, and silently, it creates a void she never expected. And people don't fear anger. They fear being forgotten. She was ready for an argument. She was ready for you to break down. What she wasn't ready for was your indifference. That absence becomes a mirror, one she can't look away from. No validation, no attention, no access. You didn't just stop calling. You removed your presence from her entire world. No updates, no posts, no digital trail. You didn't just walk away. You erased the doorway behind you. No calls, no posts, no stories. You've become a ghost with a purpose. Not because you're broken, but because your peace doesn't need to announce itself. Healing doesn't always look loud. Sometimes the loudest revenge is silence. She starts replaying memories. She stalks your online presence, searching for signs of life, any hint of pain, any clue that you're still caught up in the chaos. But she finds nothing, no updates, no breakdowns, just absence. And that silence becomes deafening. That's when regret sets in. Not because you screamed, not because you begged, but because you didn't even bother to. Absence is discipline. It shows you're not reacting, you're rebuilding, you're not trying to prove anything. You are the proof. You didn't vanish to get attention, you vanished to get peace. And that, more than anything, is what hits hardest. Let her sit with the emptiness she created. Let her feel the weight of believing you'd always be there. Because nothing haunts someone more than realizing they walked away from someone who never chased after them. Here's what no one tells you. The unavailable man becomes the most desired. That's not ego, that's psychology. People don't value what's always there. We crave what's rare, what's distant, what we can't predict. The moment you stop being emotionally available, the moment you stop answering the door to someone who walked out, that's when your value skyrockets. She thought she had you figured out. She thought, he'll be there if I change my mind. That's how most men operate after heartbreak, waiting like parked cars, hoping to be driven. Again, but not you. You didn't just stop texting, you stopped orbiting, you disappeared. No explanations, no dramatic exit, no final message. Just silence. And now, she feels it. She feels the absence, she feels the shift, because the man who used to check in is now checked out. The man who was once predictable is now unreadable, and unreadable is unforgettable. The locked door makes her curious. That curiosity becomes obsession. Why is he so calm? Why is he gone? Who has his attention now? That's how attraction rebuilds. Not through words, but through distance. Not by explaining your worth, but by removing it. And here's where the Stoic edge kicks in. You're not disappearing out of pain. You're disappearing from power. You're rebuilding in silence. Training your body. Sharpening your mind. Locking in on your purpose. You're not ghosting to prove a point. You've simply outgrown the need to be understood. That shift, that energy, is everything. You're no longer chasing. You're not waiting to be chosen. You've become the one who chooses. And that switch rewrites the entire story. You've gone from accessible to untouchable, from obvious to mysterious. And mystery magnetizes. People want what they can't fully have. The more detached you are, the more desired you become. Because when you stop proving your worth and start protecting your presence, everything changes. You stop being an option and become the standard. And in that moment, the hunter becomes the haunted. Reject closure. That's number 6. And here's the truth. Closure is a trap. It's a soft lie dressed in polite words. When she says, let's talk one last time, what she really means is, let me walk away clean. It's not about your peace. It's about her guilt. And if you fall for that, you hand over your power again. She broke your trust. Maybe she broke your spirit. And now, after the damage is done, she wants to explain her side like it'll fix the wreckage she caused. That's not closure. That's a PR move. That's her trying to rewrite the ending so she looks better in it. But here's the reality. Real peace doesn't come from her voice. It comes from your silence. Ask yourself, why do you need her to make sense of what she did? So you can put your pain in a box and wrap it with logic. So you can say, okay, now it hurts less. That's not strength, that's disguised dependency. You don't need her apology. You don't need a final conversation over coffee. You don't need the long message that suddenly makes it all click. You need discipline. You need space. You need to close the door yourself and never wait for someone who slammed it in your face to come knocking again. Stoicism teaches one thing. Very clearly, peace is internal. Nothing outside you can disturb you unless you grant it permission. Closure is just another way of asking the person who hurt you to come back and comfort you. But you don't need comfort from someone who caused the storm. You need clarity. And that clarity comes when you stop needing their words and start respecting your silence. Your silence becomes the final statement. And that statement is simple. I don't need your explanation to walk away. And finally, number 7. Elevation is the ultimate revenge. You want to win. Don't text her, don't post vague quotes, don't show up somewhere hoping to be seen. That's weak, that's reactive, that's still playing her game. The real move? Evolution. You rise quietly, relentlessly. You become so strong, so focused, so untouchable that the man she left is gone. And in his place stands someone she wouldn't even recognize. You don't level up to make her jealous. You level up to make yourself undeniable. This isn't about tearing her down. It's about building yourself so high that her memory can't even reach you. Because nothing haunts someone like seeing the person they walked away from become everything. They once doubted. She thought you'd fall apart. She thought your life would pause without her, but instead you elevated. You didn't post about it. You didn't brag. You just became it. You hit the gym, not to numb the heartbreak, but to rebuild the frame that carries your power. You chased your goals, not to distract yourself, but to remind yourself that her validation was never required. You stayed quiet. You stayed focused. And in that silence, you created progress. And here's where it cuts deep. From a distance, whether she admits it or not, she sees it. She realizes you didn't just survive, you upgraded. And that hurts more than any insult you could have delivered. Because it proves she was never the fire. She didn't light your ambition. She just witnessed the spark. Now she watches it burn from the outside, knowing she's no longer part of the flame. So let her hear about your progress. Let her scroll past your success. Let her feel the weight of what she lost. Because in the end, she won't regret breaking you. She'll regret not staying long enough to benefit from the man you became after. Number 8, detachment attracts. Here's a truth most people never fully grasp. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring for yourself more. It's about no longer tying your identity to someone else's presence. And when you do that, something unexpected happens. They start to come back. Why? Because you're no longer seeking and you've become magnetic. She felt powerful with your attention. She was used to the emotional investment, the reactions, the waiting. But when that energy fades, when you stop checking, stop chasing, stop offering her space in your mind, you become rare. You're no longer reacting. You're no longer available for emotional tug-of-war. And what we can't control, we start to crave. Detachment isn't just silence. It's peace. It's not pretending to be over someone. It's actually being over them. You're not ignoring her to spark curiosity. You're focused on your growth, your evolution. You're not moving in spite of her. You're moving without her, and that makes all the difference. From a psychological perspective, this shift flips the dynamic. You go from reactive to untouchable, from predictable to powerful. She doesn't know where you stand, and that uncertainty creates curiosity, which often leads to desire. But this isn't manipulation, it's mastery. You've reclaimed your mind, and in a world that thrives on constant validation, your peace becomes luxury. When you stop chasing, you become the one they chase. When you stop proving your worth, they begin to question what they lost. You didn't just walk away, you leveled up. Number 9, you were the blessing. Let's make one thing clear. She didn't walk away from just any man. She walked away from a blessing. At first, she felt empowered. She believed she made the right choice, but time has a way of revealing what ego hides. You were the rare one, the calm in the chaos, the consistent, the loyal, the stable, but she took it for granted. When someone gets too comfortable with loyalty, they start to think they can do better. Until they learn better doesn't always mean real. You were her peace, her support, her fire. But she mistook your strength for softness. She walked away thinking there was something more out there. Now she's searching for pieces of what you gave her for free, and nothing hits the same, because now she's not comparing you to her past. She's comparing everyone to you, and no one measures up. True value doesn't beg. It stands still and lets the world catch up. You don't have to scream, "I was good to you." Life will whisper it in ways that echo. She's replaying memories. She's realizing she didn't just lose a man, she lost a foundation. And the worst part, you've outgrown the room she locked you out of. You were the blessing. Now you've become the standard. Number 10, the dark art of indifference. Here's the final evolution. The place few ever reach, true indifference, not hatred, not bitterness, not pretending not to care, while secretly checking her story at 2 a.m. Real indifference. The kind where her name doesn't trigger anything. The kind where seeing her doesn't stir your peace. That's not coldness, it's clarity. Hatred is still attachment. Anger still means you care. Indifference? It's freedom. She no longer takes up space in your mind. You're no longer driven by what she thinks. You're not numb, you're clear. And ironically, when someone senses you truly don't care anymore, that's when they start to care. Not always because they miss you, but because they miss control. They miss being able to move you. But now you've become unreadable. And that mystery, it lingers longer than any argument ever could. This isn't about revenge. This is about growth. You're not bitter. You're just done. You've stopped chasing. You've stopped explaining. You've stepped into the kind of power that doesn't need to raise its voice because it doesn't have to. This isn't hate. It's elevation. You chose yourself, and the silence, that's not the end. It's your final form. If you felt this, if something inside you shifted, don't let this just be motivation. Let it be movement. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more. Turn on notifications so you never miss a drop, and comment below, "I've reclaimed my power." This is Stoicism, where your pain becomes precision and your silence becomes strength. See you in the next one.